Margaret Caherlick, can I thank the 18 members of the House for their contribution to the order of business. And at the beginning, can I join with Senator Warfield in all of us in the House remembering the genocide and the mass slaughter in Rwanda 25 years ago. And it's important and proper that we in this House would reflect upon, pay tribute to the Rwandan people on this, the 25th anniversary. And I suppose the words of their President, Caherlick, is one that we should all take note of, where he speaks about them being a family once again. And if we go back in our history, Caherlick, the events of 25 years ago were horrific and brutal. And I think we should all, as the Minister for Foreign Affairs has done, commend the bravery and the resilience and stand with the Rwandan people. At the end of the order of business, it is appropriate that we should stand for a minute's reflection and pay tribute and remember those who died in an awful legacy on our times. Caherlick, Senator Éireann raised the issue of the Spinraza drug, and the information that I have, Caherlick, is that the HSE wrote to the company informing them of the proposal by the HSE to refuse reimbursement of the drug Spinraza at the price that was being quoted or being offered by the drugs company, but allowing for an opportunity for the company to come back to the HSE with a different price option. As members will know, the Health Price and Supply Medical Good Act allows for 28 days for a company to come back to the Department or the HSE. My information, Caherlick, is that the HSE have received a revised submission as they have invited. The HSE Drugs Group are now considering that price and will make a recommendation in a while. I haven't got any more up-to-date information than that, but I do think it's important that there's an obligation on drugs companies to come back with reasonable prices to the HSE, so that we can ensure that people are able to access and avail of medicines, as spoken by Senator Éireann. Caherlick, Senator McFadden and Senator Éireann raised a report today of the National Cancer Strategy and its outlook in terms of perhaps one and two of us will have contracted cancer in the coming years. As Senator McFadden rightly said, outcomes have become better. People are living longer and surviving longer and have better access to treatment and medicines in cancer. But it is important that we invest in cancer care, in cancer services, and that the National Cancer Strategy is updated and that the resources are put in place to ensure that the National Cancer Strategy is fit for purpose. Caherlick, last Friday I visited Ark House in Cork and looked at their new proposal for their new development there, where they will have a suite of rooms and treatment centres and an opportunity for people to come and to meet. And I want to commend the work of Professor Seamus Riley and the staff in Ark House. But it is important that we do invest in our cancer strategy so that we can tackle the scourge of cancer that has, for a generation, blighted our communities. And as Senator Éireann rightly said, there are many of us in this House who have family members who have died from or who have suffered from cancer, some who are on the road to recovery, some who are in remission, and some who are cancer-free. But it is one that we need to keep continual vigilance on. Senator McDougall and Senator Lawless and Senator Batchick raised the issue. Maybe Senator Batchick raised the issue of the gaming legislation that's coming before the House in probably next week. And
I'm on your side in relation to it. It's the lobbyists I'm against.
Or the lobbyists. The point you're making regarding the councils having the power removed from them, I don't think it's going to be changed. But if it is,
I misread their letter.
Okay, but if it is going to be changed, then I would take your point that it should be looked at again, because you are right. There is no value in our society in having gaming machines or in having these dens of iniquity where people gather. And you are right, it is the most vulnerable. Those who can least afford to go into these places end up in there. And I fully subscribe to the points you made and the Senator Lawless made in terms of the scourge that gambling has on a multiplicity of families, and there's no community immune from. But I think you are right. It doesn't add anything to society to have these gaming machines and to have these places, and I support you on that. Equally, I do think it's important in the context of any piece of legislation that we don't take away power from local authorities, that we continue to strip them of power is not the way to go forward. I think it's important that we are sensible in the way in which we can invest in local government from the point of view of power and giving our elected members an opportunity to have real meaningful roles in areas like this. Caherlick, Senator McDougall, Senator Black and Senator Batchik raised the issue of the Israeli election and the annexation of Palestinian settlements. And Senator McDougall, you'll be glad to hear I agree with you. I don't think any of us in this House are anti-Semitic or anti-Israel from the point of view of what's been proposed here. It's a free and democratic election tomorrow, and I certainly don't take my lead from President Trump, as you don't either, in terms of Israel or in terms of Palestine. But it is important that we have a sensible debate. And to be fair to the Taoiseach and the Minister for Foreign Affairs, they've had a very strong line regarding Israel and Palestine. I'm not sure the bill you refer to is a good bill, but in saying that, the bill has passed through this House. But it is important tomorrow that the Israeli people vote, or today that they have their vote. But equally, it is important that the world community upholds human rights and the rights of people. And like you, I believe in the right of Israel, but I also believe the Palestinian people have a right and a fundamental right that we must all try to honour as well. Caherlick, Senator Conway Walsh raised the issue of trolleys, and it is a source of concern. We have seen an investment in the HSE in terms of our initiatives to target waiting times in emergency departments. She also makes reference to the issues of staff recruitment, and I think it's important to recognise that over the last number of years, under this government, we have introduced an opportunity to have recruitment of more doctors, more nurses working the health system. By any yardstick, since 2015, we've seen an increase in medical and dental of 1,132, a 12% increase. We've seen 2,291 more nurses, a 6.4% increase. In regarding health and social care professionals, 1,918, which is a 13% increase. And in terms of management and administration, 2,340, 14% increase. And I do agree with Senator Conway Walsh that there is a need to have more investment in primary, in frontline services, and like Senator Riley, a greater emphasis on primary care. Government, as Senator Riley has referenced, has agreed a new GP contract which will make general practice a much more attractive career and will allow for treatment of people at the first source. And I want to thank all involved in the contractual discussions that have taken place. I think the issue of HSE recruitment, Caherlick, is one that we need to see it targeted in specific areas. And I do believe that it's important that this year alone, again, we've had the highest health budget in the history of the state. I'm sure members watched Reeling in the Ears the other night, where they saw a very infamous Minister for Health presiding over the highest ever trolley watch, a continual morass of commentary about the health system under Micheál Martin, who was the then Minister for Health. We should watch Reeling in the Ears from last weekend. It's a bit like deja vu.
An emergency that time. You should be declaring an emergency crisis now. We declared it as an emergency crisis.
The leader was responding without interruption, please.
The declaration of an emergency, or otherwise, Caherlick, has led to the highest ever health budget of 16 billion. Highest ever health budget of 16 billion. And Caherlick, for those who watch Reeling in the Ears, we know what happened the year after 2003. Micheál Martin ran out of health, never to go back. And you left poor Mary Harney there for nearly a generation.
That's okay.
Yes,
Order, please. Order.
This is actually local politics at its best here now. And Micheál Martin.
We don't want any school romantics in here.
As Senator McDougall knows full well, Caherlick, as Senator...
Leader, please.
As Senator McDougall knows full well, Caherlick, the Fianna Fáil party... As Senator McDougall knows full well, Caherlick, the Fianna Fáil party...
Please don't be encouraging them.
As you know, Caherlick, and as Senator McDougall can testify, the Fianna Fáil party ran out of health and they never returned. They left poor Mary Harney stranded there.
And ran from it. What about the tea shop?
When y'all don't avail.
Was in health and left.
Listen, you're rambling as ever.
I'm voting his audience, so Senator McDougall was on television last night.
Leader, please, to respond without interruption.
Caherlick, Senator Conway Walsh also.
We're looking forward to your programme, Rome or Ireland, wherever it's called.
Catholic Senator Conway Walsh, Senator Feehan Catholic raised the issue of ATM machines being robbed, and it is a source of huge concern. And as I was going to say, thanks to the help from my colleague and friend Senator Hawken, it was raised in the Audit Business by a number of senators last week. Both the PSNI and the Gardaí Síochána are working very hard to try and ensure that the criminals are apprehended. This is not a victimless crime. It has a profound impact on the quality of life of people living on both sides of the border, and it is important that anybody with information should provide it to the PSNI or the Gardaí or Gardaí Síochána. And it's equally important that we stand up to dissident paramilitaries who, if they are involved, should be brought to task in regarding this matter. Catholic Senator Dolan raised the important matter of National Arthritis Week and the need for the Minister for Disability to come to the House regarding employment strategic targeting of people's abilities. And it is important that that strategy is implemented and that the numbers allocated are followed up on and are adhered to, because it is important that we give people with disability an opportunity to work and to reach that potential of working in the workforce, and I will be happy to that debate in the coming weeks. Senator Batchik raised the issue of sexual harassment in the workplace and the important issue that it is, and to have a debate around that matter, and I'd be happy to do that. Equally, we'll have the debate tonight on the divorce bill and subsequently, and we can have that debate. Senator Hopkins Carlick raised the very important matter of schools and the need to have a flexible transportation system provided so that we can offer support, in particular to families and to communities in smaller rural schools, and I think that's a very worthwhile suggestion. There are some schools who are dealing with declining numbers while others are exploding, and it's important that we have that debate so that we can allow for choice to be given to families and parents, but also allow for a flexible transport option to access a different type of preschool or after school, as in many cases both parents are today working, and I'd be happy to have that debate in the coming weeks. Senator Moran O'Connor and Senator Norris raised the issue of the LPT, and I'm not sure whether there was a meeting of minds between both of them, but if you have an alternative to the LPT, Senator Moran O'Connor and Senator Norris, then let's hear it. We remember what happened in '77 when Jack Lynch got rid of rates, and what happened then. I know, but you can't come in and be populist and expect no one to pay for anything anymore. Something has to pay to run the country. You commit. Well, sure, we know what you did with water charges. She ran away from that too. So you've become the populist party. I know you're competing with Sinn Féin now to be populist, but I mean, there's only a limit. There's only a certain amount of money that the state can provide. And to be fair, Cathaoirleach, any sensible and thoughtful person would recognise that we do need to have money coming into the coffers of the Exchequer to pay for services, to pay for hospitals, to pay for guards that you come in here every day talking about. And let's be fair about it. You can't be all things to all people. Look where it got you in 2010. So I mean that's the bottom line.
Here comes the violin.
Catholic Senator Lawless made a very good contribution regarding the amendment in terms of the licensing of gaming, and I think it's one that we'll have that debate again in future. It is one that we need to see, I think, a huge amount of debate on, and I hope as part of the bill that we can gain the attention of people, because it's a very topic now. It's becoming, whether it's loot boxes, whether it's online gambling, whether it's gaming arcades, or whatever, it's becoming a huge issue, which is a blight on our society. Senator Black, can I join with you on behalf of all of us in the House in paying tribute to the late Sally O'Neill, who was tragically killed in the last few days, and to commend her for her work with Trócaire and for the way in which she advocated and promoted human rights and social justice around the world. We pay tribute to her and we remember her. We thank her for her service and we send our sympathies to her family. Catholic Senator Riley made reference to the new GP contract in the primary care, and Minister Harris was in that loan with Senator McFadden. And as we all accept and agree, it is through primary care that we can bring a new revolution in our healthcare system, and I look forward to that debate in the coming weeks. Senator Norris, I wondered did he get any grants from the Georgian Society or from anybody regarding doing up his house. But he did get great notoriety in being on television and winning Ireland's best house or best renovated house, and we congratulate him for that. Senator Gallagher raised the very important matter of school secretaries, as did Senator Norris, and I know that there's a debate going on in the Education Committee today, and forced to have a very good campaign around the role of school secretaries. And I do believe there is a need for a regularisation of their position, and I believe that the anomalies that some schools can do A, B or C and others can do X, Y and Z needs to change, because a school secretary is probably one of the most important jobs in any school, in any community, and we certainly support any positive change that can bring to a betterment for the life of the school secretary. He also made reference to the issue of domestic violence and extra resources. Perhaps, Caoimhín, as a more expeditious way of getting a reply, he could put a commensurate matter down on the matter. Senator Harkin raised the issue of illegal dumping and the need to have a debate on that, and I would be happy to have that in the coming weeks. Can I agree with you that the amount of packaging that is being burdened on people to get rid of needs to be changed by the suppliers of goods in all parts of the retail sector, and I'd be happy to have that debate as part of the ongoing debate around waste and recycling. Senator Éireann, from my reading of the electoral register supplement that you referred to in your contribution, it does mean a change, which is a positive one. I think it is important from all of our perspective that people, first of all, register to vote. Secondly, that they do go and vote. And I think linked to that, I think it's important also to make it easier for people to register to vote. And I would have a similar interpretation to you that people can register online from perusal of the statutory instrument. That it is a step in the right direction, and I would commend Minister Phelan for that. Senator Paddy Burke raised the issue of Dublin Port's decision to reduce the number of cruise liners coming to Dublin. I think that's a very regressive move by Dublin Port, to be honest, and I would ask them to revisit that. The cruise liner industry has a very lucrative, but it's also a very important means of attracting people to Dublin, but also to Cove and perhaps to Belfast. And I would certainly hope that, as part of the contribution of Senator Burke today and others in the House, that it would be revised by Dublin Port. I think it sends the wrong message, and it certainly doesn't help to promote our tourism strategy, which is about attracting people to Ireland. So, Caoimhín, with that, in accordance with the proposal of Senator Warfield, at my conclusion, at your behest, it would be appropriate that we would stand and remember the Rwandan people today. Grumabit.